Hey everybody, I'm Brad. I'm going to show you the install for the Maverick Sport. When you buy the kit, here's what you can get. These are the fronts, the long ones are the rears, and a bag of install pins. Let's take a look over here. This machine shows everything that, every reason you need fender flares on them. I was on a ride with this guy, and this is how it came back. We talked about not being able to see the taillights after a few miles of riding, and mud in his wife's face. She wasn't that happy. So to start off the rears, the first thing you have to do is there are 6 factory push pins that you'll pull out, starting from the bottom. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Pull those out. This is the tool I use. There's a few different tools you can use to pull those pins out. That's the one I like. Amazon for cheap. So I'll start out with this rear on this bottom corner with one of your factory pins and give it a push. Bring it around here, grab another pin, and we do the bottom 4. We'll do the first 4, and then we're going to give it some heat. Some of these on this machine are full of, they've been full of mud, and so they're a little tougher to go in. So you get those first 4 in. And then you're going to give it a bunch of heat, not a lot of heat, but enough heat to soften the material. I'm using an electric heat gun now. I've done it with this one, and I've also used a torch. Just be really careful if you use a torch. I've also had customers use a hair dryer. If it just takes a little while, but they make enough heat where it'll work. So give it some heat right along wherever your fender creases is where you're going to need some heat to make it form nicely in that corner. So a little bit of heat, and then come in above with a pin. And we'll do the next 4. Now while that's warm, you can push this into place to form it a little tighter into that corner with ratchet handle is what I use, or a hammer handle, or a pry bar, or anything that you can use to shape it with. So you continue up, and I'm trying to go kind of fast here for video's sake. Keep working your way up until you get to the next curve. All right, now we want to give it a little bit more heat. Heat along the crease, back and forth. And you can see, if you come over here and take a look, what I'm trying to accomplish is I want to heat the material up enough where I can get rid of that gap. So I heat that up, and we'll put a pin in there, and we'll put one of the factory pins in back here, and then get that to fit nice and tight. If you're in a hurry, like I am, you can even give it a little spritz of water, cool things down. It'll take shape, and then it keeps its shape. So from that point, we keep working our way back. Here's the last factory pin that you took out earlier. And just fill all the holes. And then, get to the back here. The fender flare will have 2 holes in it. And they will line up with 2 flat spots on the rear of your fender in front of the taillight. After I drilled these holes, I put my camera up inside there. The wiring is way up here, so it should be safe for any machine. Use caution if you have rock lights or anything like that installed. So right where you've got that, right where those holes line up to, you can drill your first hole. And install a pin. These are 3/8 inch holes. Use a 3/8 drill bit. And that's it. That's all for the rear. Let's move on to the front. This front. Let me come around this side so you can see. My lovely camera assistant. On the front, there are 2 factory pins that we're going to remove first. And they're right here on this outer piece. If you have questions on which ones to remove, just hold this up to it and you can see which ones that it's going to cover. This one's already formed because I've already had it on here. But you remove those 2 pins, set those aside. You start at the bottom, just like the other side. There's a hole right down here, way at the bottom. And get that started. Then work your way up to the next pin and get that one in. At that point, you're going to need some heat. So you'll heat this up and get it pliable. Get that pin in. Put this factory pin in. And this one out here. The other factory pin. And then you're going to want more heat because this thing is going to be out here. Give it more heat. And to make that corner, I always heat it up good. And then push it back into the corner. And it'll take its shape. I'm not showing every little bit of it just because I want to keep the video short. And then put your last 2 pins in. And you're good to go. That's what the good installed set will look like. You can always come back if you're not crazy about the fitment on this. If you come back later and heat that up nice and get back at it with your with the ratchet handle or whatever you might use, and just shove it out there where you want it. And you push it into place and let it cool, and it'll stay there. That's the install on the fender flares for the Maverick Sport.